there, this is episode 105 of the first 10 minutes. I'm Tony Parmenter.
I am Steve Halliwell.
And I am Aaron Williams.
And this is a video games podcast where we play the first 10 minutes of a video game. Then we sit down here to discuss how well that game communicates itself to the player, both in terms of what the game is about and how to play the game. And in response to our latest listener poll, which you can find at the first 10 minutes on Twitter, you, the listeners, voted for us to play Fortnite on iOS. Steve, you drew the short straw. How did it go?
It went. All right.
I shouldn't say you drew the short straw. I should say you suggested this for the poll.
I did.
And now you're reaping what you sowed.
It's totally my fault. Only myself to blame. Yep, I played Fortnite on iOS. I don't think I had played it on PC before, but I had played a bunch of Battlegrounds previously, so this is similar to that.
Right.
Let's get some stats out of the way. So,
okay.
I played this on iOS. This is a game made by Epic. It is also on PC, presumably also on Mac. It is also available on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One.
Yep.
This game is not actually early access because that's a branded term, but this game is not done yet.
Despite art is never done, Steve. It's merely abandoned.
Merely abandoned. Well, this is an active development,
right?
And actively reported as not complete, despite the fact that it's sold for money on many platforms with IAP and season passes, and we're in season 4.
Yep.
And the game is at version 4.2. Despite all of those things, this game is not done.
Okay.
In other news, Old man yells at cloud.
Yes. Further, in old man-related news, Fortnite, which I'm sure we'll get to talk about in another area of this discussion as well, is not spelt the way Fortnite is spelled.
Huh?
No way. My cursory Googling is all wrong. although, funny joke there. So I punched Fortnite into Google, Fortnight, thinking, this will be funny. I'll be like, oh, it's a period of 2 weeks. It's an hour. The very first result is Battle Pass Season 4.
Nice.
Excellent.
The second result is a Fortnite game playthrough where they've gone and titled it Fortnite, Night.
Okay, right.
Savvy marketing technique there.
This game is spelled Fortnite.
Yes.
And I think there's a strong emphasis on fort, which perhaps you'll get to in your 10 minutes, Steve.
I wish. All right. So, Wikipedia has some things to say, because we don't have Steam tags, but I think it's actually quite interesting here the way that this game presents itself in different places. So,
right.
Wikipedia says that Fortnite is a co-op sandbox survival game developed by Epic Games and People Can Fly, published by Epic. It's on platforms. It's free to play. Release expected in 2018, which is kind of correct. It is now. Retail versions were published by Gearbox. Online versions are distributed by Epic's launcher. So, Fortnite is set in contemporary Earth, where the sudden appearance of worldwide storm causes 98% of the world's population to disappear, and zombie-like creatures to attack the remainder. Considered by Epic as a crossover between Minecraft and Left 4 Dead, Fortnite has up to 4 players cooperating on various missions on randomly generated maps to collect resources, build fortifications around defensive objectives that are meant to help them fight the storm and protect survivors, and construct weapons and traps to engage in combat the waves of these creatures. None of this is accurate. This is all wrong. Because no one is playing Fortnite. People are playing Fortnite Battle Royale. And these two things have been rebranded so that now whenever you say Fortnite, you mean Fortnite Battle Royale.
Right.
Whereas what Fortnite was originally presented as is a wave-based horde mode survival game where you build a fort. Anyway,
that's a good razor.
That bit is free. The only bit in the Wikipedia description that mentions Fortnite is like, oh, by the way, a standalone mode, Fortnite Battle Royale, based upon the Battle Royale game genre,
is currently the biggest thing ever.
Yes, was released on the same platforms in September of 2017. It is now the #1 game in the world. It is free, and it is available on damn near everything. So that's what Wikipedia has to say about it. Very factual and very wrong. Whereas...
Very, very factual, very wrong needs to be the new tagline.
It's a pretty good T-shirt also. Yeah.
Werner Herzog's buying 1,000 T-shirts right now.
Yeah. So the way Epic describes this on their website, they say Fortnite Battle Royale is a free 100-player PvP mode in Fortnite. One giant map, a battle bus, Fortnite building skills and destructive environments combined with intense PvP combat. The last one standing wins. Available on PC, PlayStation 4, Mac, Xbox One, and Mac. Also iOS.
What's that price again?
Free!
Oh, good.
It's in all caps. Whereas on the Apple Store, where I got this game from, we're discussing the iOS version,
yes.
The blurb is as such. The #1 Battle Royale game has come to mobile. Squad up and compete to be the last one standing in 100-player PvP. Build cover, battle your opponents. Survive the longest, earn your victory.
So how did your game go, Steve?
Oh, all right. So, I already had an account because I had set one up previously to, use Epic's launcher. So I could log in with that, and it pulled over the complete lack of data I had about Fortnite. So I had a level 1 character that appeared to be randomly rolled, and from what I can tell, continues to be randomly rolled. Like, changes every time I log in.
Okay.
I don't know if that's on purpose or not. I don't even remember which character it randomly gave me when I first started, but at various times I've been a man or a woman with long or short hair and of varying skin tones. So I hadn't played Fortnite Battle Royale before, as I mentioned, but I did know that it was a Battle Royale game, and I knew that it had building stuff in it.
Okay.
So like the game knows I haven't played it before, but it offers me not a lot in the way of instruction.
Right.
I mean, the layout of the main menu is relatively easy to understand, despite having a lot of stuff on it. There's a button in the corner that says play.
All right. So is this, I don't know what your other sort of play experiences are here, Steve, but in terms of lobby busyness, is this perhaps similar to a League of Legends or a Dota 2 or a Heroes of the Storm kind of level of lots of stuff but easy to grok?
So I don't know how much it shows you not on mobile.
Right.
But I'm assuming that the layout I have on iOS is trying to put everything like one tap away.
Right, okay.
So there are a lot of like rows of buttons and panel foldouts attached to the edges of my screen.
Right, right.
So there's like a tab section at the top that I think I clicked through in the video that you can watch now on YouTube.
Yes.
Of me figuring out like what are these tabs for? Can I change things here? So those are all like one tap deep to get to what I want.
Right.
The layout is similar to that of Battle Royale or Battlegrounds.
Okay. Because
the giant play button is where you'd expect one to be.
Typically what I found with these sorts of things is that getting into the game itself can be quite straightforward, but as soon as you start digging into the menus, you get lost in the meta. And if you do that the first time you play, you're kind of lost at sea.
So I found that there wasn't, at least I was moving at a pace to try and get to the game. But it didn't seem like there was a lot of weeds to get necessarily stuck in here.
Right.
I've learned after these 10 minutes that there was a thing I had assumed I was doing that I wasn't, in that the play button I assumed was going to match me into a solo game. I don't know why I assumed that, but that's what I assumed. Because I was assuming the button above that I could see in the bottom right that said squads was a different button that I would press to start a squad game.
It was a label.
No, it wasn't a button. It was saying you are in a squad match if you press play.
Right.
But I mean, I learnt that outside of my 10 minutes, but
okay.
I learnt it relatively quickly.
Right.
There's also there's a giant EULA that I didn't read because why would you as well? Worth noting. I learnt a bunch of things about myself that I have no context for. I know that there are new updates to a game I haven't played before.
Right.
I know that there's an Avengers tie-in that's just started. Good to know.
Hooray!
I know that Abstract with a K and Renegade Roller clothing is now available.
Nice.
I don't know if those are real brands or not. I'm also informed that I can now use two-factor authentication, should I wish to.
Okay.
Cool.
Broadly speaking, it looks like my like top row button stuff are things like achievements, any daily quests that I can have. So my rewards for coming back. I have a level that I'm incrementing. I don't know if that unlocks things or if it's just a way of tracking like how much have I played versus my friends.
Right.
But there's some sort of persistence there that I accrue by playing.
Okay. My question based on hearing all of this, Steve, is was this overwhelming to you?
I mean, my immediate answer to that is yes, but it also seemed that I didn't need to give a shit.
Okay.
Right? It seems like there's a lot here that they want me to eventually start clicking on and understanding.
Right.
But none of it matters. None of it matters in terms of me being able to play this game right now.
Okay.
Because there's a play button in the corner, and it doesn't then say like, oh, but you haven't chosen a character yet.
Right.
Or like, oh, you haven't chosen your quests yet. Like none of that matters.
So once you hit the play button, it funnels you right in.
I hit the play button, it says, cool, we're finding you a match. And the timer starts. It tells me, like just above that tiny play button, a little pop-out just shows up that says, cool, we're matchmaking you, we're finding a room. This is how long we expect it to take.
Right.
It doesn't stop me. Like I'm not stuck in a menu while that happens. I can do whatever else I want in the app while it's matchmaking in the background.
Okay.
So do you think that it's doing that because it assumes because it doesn't care that it doesn't really care about the Fortnite experience, that like exposing you to all of it immediately, or two, is it because that you think that anyone sitting down to this has played Fortnite before?
So this is a really interesting one in that I think they can get away with a lot here.
Yeah.
Because Fortnite is the biggest game in the world.
Yeah.
And the mode that I can play on iOS, the only mode that I think I'm able to play, I don't think the original mode even exists on mobile, as far as I can tell. The mode it's based on is the second biggest game in the world.
Yeah.
So they can, with a fair degree of certainty, assume that you know what Battle Royale is, and further that you probably know exactly what Fortnite is before you've even gotten here at this point.
Okay.
For better or worse, I kind of think.
But I mean, even with you, Steve, who haven't played the game on any of the other various platforms before, you're still coming to this with a reasonable degree of familiarity, yeah?
Yes.
Right.
In terms of I know what Fortnite is.
Okay.
I know that it's Battle Royale where I can build stuff.
Sure. So just in case you are from a different planet and you're not familiar with what Battle Royale is, Steve, how does that work?
So what Battle Royale means when someone says that to you now in the modern video game terms means a lot of players dropped on an island, in air quotes, who have to scavenge for stuff and kill each other. And while they're doing that, the area that they're allowed to be in is slowly shrinking. So like Hunger Games, I think, is a touchstone for a lot of people, like what this is. Right.
Or the film, or the book.
Or the film Battle Royale, but I think Hunger Games is probably more 8-year-olds have seen.
True.
Steve, I don't want to put words in your mouth. So instead, I'm going to put words in my mouth based off of watching your gameplay video.
Yep.
An accurate summary of this might be that you ran around a lot and didn't see anyone, and then occasionally you would see someone and shoot them, and then you died.
Yes, that's accurate.
Yep. Do you want to dig into that a little more, or do you think that's a typical Fortnite experience?
To be perfectly honest, I expected this to be more hectic than it was the first time I played it.
Right.
Because what I had heard from osmosis and actual other people I know is that Fortnite is more fast. It's fast-paced, it's more wacky, it's more crazy, it's more straight to the action than PUBG, which I had played a bunch of.
Right.
And what happened to me in Fortnite on the 10 minutes that you can see is very similar to a PUBG run where I'm kind of on my own, I run across the landscape, and then when I see something, I shoot at it. The biggest difference here being that presumably I was playing against other people also on iPads or iPhones that couldn't shoot very well, so I managed to actually kill them rather than just die out of nowhere, which would be the more typical PUBG run, dying from nowhere and then waiting in a queue again. I think one of the big things that I was surprised about from this experience was how quick it was to get into a game, which I suppose makes sense. Like there's 30 million people playing this or whatever. Yeah. But it still seemed very, very quick to get into a match and be going.
Well, fairly quick to get into a match, be able to goof off like you do at the start of any online multiplayer game before the match actually starts.
The warm-up stage, that I hate in everything. Yeah.
I can't let that one lie, Steve. Why do you hate that?
Because I'm not playing esports. I'm not an esportsman. I don't need that 1 minute for us to figure out which strat we're running.
Right, okay.
So, like, the same thing happens in Overwatch. I go insane in that first 30 seconds, whatever it is, where it's like, we're preparing for battle. Like, no, we're not. It's just all of us here meleeing the door with the enemies on the other side of the door, meleeing the door, waiting for it to open for no reason. And like I understand that in PUBG and Fortnite, that staging area serves a more real purpose of like, we need to get 100 people in here. So it takes some time for us to get to that point before we can hit go.
Sure.
It still always feels annoying to me to be like, you're putting me in this fake part of the game so I can practice, air quotes.
Right.
But it's not even an artificial version of what play feels like. It just happens to be the same control scheme.
Sure. So I did notice that that in this staging section, Steve, you did a lot of axe swinging with a melee weapon, which I believe is my
default
sort of the weapon that you start with as a default. Yep. And you're playing this on iPad, yeah? So I imagine this was an opportunity for you to wrangle with how the control sort of touch-based stuff worked. What were your thoughts in terms of how that came together?
But so yeah, in my staging area, I at least got to get a feel for what kind of virtual analog stick are they using, and how far can I move my fingers around before it starts registering things? How quickly do I turn? Those sort of things.
Yep.
How fast do I move? I got a good sense of those things. I got to learn in that staging area like how many hits it takes to break down a wall, which would be useful to me later, I would imagine, but I probably could have learned that later anyway. But I did learn a thing that I didn't expect is I saw a pile of tires and I saw another player jumping on them.
Yep.
So apparently those are boost pads.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I ever saw those again in my 10 minutes, but that would have been that's a good thing for me to have known if I happened to have seen them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of on a timer that expires, and then we just teleport to this hot air balloon bus thing. Which is like the proxy for the plane from Battlegrounds.
Yes.
That sort of chooses a random path across the island, and once it's over the island where you're fighting, you can press a button to jump out. And there's sort of
how did you decide when to jump, Steve?
On my first match, I was kind of thrown by the tooltip. Because
it grabbed you by the scruff of the neck and threw you out the back of the plane.
Basically. Because it told me something like you have 30 seconds until... It sounded like I was 30 seconds until it was going to be like, you done fucked up.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure once I read that, I was like, whoa, jump out. If presumably once I've played this game more, I will know what areas of the map I like, and then I will choose when to jump out based upon which area of the map I feel like going to.
Right.
I would have to play the game more to get a sense of whether early jumping or late jumping or whatever has different advantages. I'm not sure yet.
Okay. I assume waiting and watching to see how many other people have jumped out and when and where would be a part of that equation as well.
Possibly. I don't have a good sense of that for Fortnite.
Right.
Especially because it seems like I can glide a very long way across this island.
Yeah.
Like I said, the distance I can cover once I'm out of the plane before I'm on the ground seems like it's most of the island.
Right.
So it seems like it's far less determined by the path the bus takes and far more just, well, where do I want to go?
Okay.
In a way that Battlegrounds doesn't necessarily allow you to do.
So you get to sky surf down sort of to the ground. Was there any particular rhyme or reason to where you were choosing to head towards?
I wanted to make sure I was landing near some buildings because I was assuming that this was following the same kind of rules as Battlegrounds, which means that you pick up weapons and stuff once you hit the ground, and those things tend to be in buildings, not just out in fields.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I wanted to land somewhere where there were some buildings, but not necessarily a lot of very big buildings, because then that attracts more people. And more
unless
people
they're
early.
all thinking the same way you are.
Yeah. And that's the gamble that I guess I took.
Yep.
Yeah. Some other things that I noted in this that are very different is there's a noise indicator.
Yep.
And as I understand it, this is actually only on the iOS version.
Okay.
It sort of gives you like what you'd normally expect for a radial hit indicator in a first or third person shooter. But it does that for just sounds that are near you.
So are they assuming that people are going to be playing this with the sound off because it's a mobile device?
Or without headphones, and so then you probably only have mono out of your device, or it's muffled.
Right.
And so you actually get sort of like a lightning bolt kind of icon in your radial hit indicator when there is sound near you, and it's more opaque the closer or louder that sound is to you.
Okay.
That's cool.
It is. It's an excellent little bit of accessibility there.
Yeah.
That in the more of the game that I've played after this 10 minutes, I've actually found very useful.
I can imagine.
Because I haven't even necessarily even heard the gunshots happening coming out of an iPad. But I can see the indicator and turn to the left and go, oh, they're a friendly, it's fine. Or whatever it is.
Right.
Some other stuff that is interesting in the time that I spend in this 10 minutes. I did try going to build mode.
Right.
And it scared me greatly.
Why?
Because it adds a lot of buttons to the UI.
To the touch screen real estate.
Yes. That I didn't necessarily understand as I was running across a landscape trying not to get killed by 99 other people.
Right. So I've it's confession time, fellas.
Yep.
I have played Fortnite before. Once.
You cheater.
And exactly once on the PC.
How many force did you
build? That's exactly my point, Steve.
Yeah.
I had no idea whatsoever that building was even a thing in this game because I'm old. And I haven't been paying attention to this in any way, shape or form. Yeah. And then as I started playing the Battle Royale mode and I realized that building forts was the thing you could do, I went, oh, fuck. This is something that is meant for a different mode of play that has been sort of co-opted into this new form of play in a way that is way too skill and reflex intensive for these old bones. So I just didn't do it.
And I didn't want to try it under time pressure and like imminent peril either.
Right.
I've seen high level or not amateur play of Fortnite, and building is definitely important.
Oh hell yeah.
I'm really struggling to see a way for me to feel like I'm in control of that on a touch device.
Yeah.
I can see that being easier to wrangle with when I have a keyboard and mouse because I have more buttons. I can just bind build wall to a key and just tap it and then keep going on about my business.
Yep.
Like switching between modes makes me kind of feel like I need to be an octopus to have enough suckers to touch all these buttons on the screen.
Because my main point of reference for this was Orcs Must Die. Just in terms of it being sort of gridlocked, but in that you have time to move around an environment and you have time to figure out what you're putting where, and you're fighting against horde mode, you might say, like Fortnite.
Like Fortnite.
Yeah, like the two phases are very clearly separated.
Yep. And that is how original Fortnite is structured. There's a build phase and a defense phase. Yeah.
Yes.
I felt scared. I also, when I watched the video back, realized that I was doubly scared because I thought I tried to build something and it didn't work. Mm. So I went, well, I don't understand all these buttons then, and left. I looked back at the video. I had no resources.
Okay.
There are tiny zeros under my number of planks, number of bricks, and number of steel rods.
Right.
Which I'm assuming is why my indicator is red.
Right.
Like the ghost of the building I'm building is red.
Yep.
Right, okay.
I'm assuming that's why, but I didn't know that. I just thought I was doing something wrong and went, well, I just need to put bullets in things. This will be fine.
Okay. Steve, paint me a word picture of the flow of your 10 minutes then.
I was startled at how small the map was. Mm-hmm. I got scared by a 30-second imminent warning. I jumped out of a plane. I tried to get to the ground quickly in an area that wasn't overly crowded.
Yep.
I found a weapon of some kind. I don't even necessarily know what it was. It's some sort of submachine gun kind of thing.
Yep.
I figured out how to fire it. I figured out how to use the lock run. I ran across the landscape. I made a note that at about 2.5 minutes in, I realized that I was in a squad game. because I saw at the top under my health bar, there are other people's names and their health bars.
Yep.
And I'm nowhere near them. I don't even know where they are. So I apologize to Colero 2. Sorry. Didn't know I was in a squad.
Cool Arrow seems cool.
Yeah. I got some loot out of a big chest. So there's also like that same radial indicator tells you if there's a cool chest nearby that has like a loot box in it. Kind of like, it feels kind of like Borderlands in that sense.
Yep.
I got a bunch of big guns. There are giant hand icons on those, and you can just tap the screen to pick them up.
Yep.
And that sort of fills up your inventory slots at the bottom. And that was really intuitive. I didn't even think about what I had to do with those. The hand icon meant that I wanted to tap them. And my inventory filled up. I don't know if it was earlier or later in the game, but I wanted to pick something up, but I'd already filled all the slots. So I just I clicked and dragged a thing with my finger from my inventory to the world that I didn't want, and my character threw it in the world, and then I could pick something else up. Okay. So that worked great. That was awesome. I saw a human, I shot at them. I think for the first person that I saw, we were just really far away from each other. Mm-hmm. And they ignored me. Like, I'm almost not sure that they knew I existed. But I got closer to them. I think they knew I was shooting at them because they started bunny hopping to try and not get shot.
Right.
After that point, I was kind of just trying to work my way to the middle of the circle. So this is the Battle Royale thing. There is a circle that will shrink, and if you're outside the circle, you'll take damage until you die. It's a way of making sure that the fight doesn't just become a stalemate of two people sitting on opposite sides of an island forever.
Right.
Yeah.
So I started doing that because I didn't have a sense of what else I should do other than not be where presumably I will be dead.
Yep.
I learnt that headshots appear to do double damage at one point.
Yeah.
Sort of like numbers fly out of enemies when you hit them, so you have a really obvious way of telling presumably if someone has armor, but also if your gun is a good gun or not, because there'll be bigger numbers.
Yep.
I learnt very quickly that this game uses old school like gun mechanics, if that makes sense, in that there's just an accuracy cone, and the longer you're firing, the bigger that cone gets, and bullets just spray randomly in there. I chased down another enemy, and we had a very stupid battle that made it clear to me that we must both be on mobile devices. Because once we had decided we were shooting each other, we both stopped moving so that we could aim properly. Because the way that the controller is laid out means that when you're aiming at a target, like it doesn't feel natural didn't to me, to move my right thumb to aim and then double tap it to shoot.
Right.
And there's a secondary shoot button it puts on the left side above movement.
Yep.
So while I was still learning how to control this thing, it meant that when I wanted to shoot at someone, I would move my left thumb from where the joystick area is to where the fire button is. Mm-hmm. So now I'm just standing in the middle of nowhere trying to aim at somebody and then tapping fire very slowly. And they did exactly the same thing. So it's just two people standing pretty much in a field, firing slowly at each other.
You're nearly quoting Rocket Raccoon there. It's very good.
Yes.
So maybe you're a little too modest, Steve, but you did survive longer than all of your other teammates.
Okay, sure.
Did you miss to go it?
That doesn't mean anything in Battle Royale.
I don't know.
Time of survival and number, like how close to the end you die, doesn't really mean anything.
It means a lot to me, Steve. You did
well. Well, thank you.
I guess, okay, let me reframe the question. Had your teammates still been around, all two of them?
Yep.
And had they presumably been more familiar with the mobile version of this game, as in this isn't the first time they're playing it,
yeah.
Do you think they were trying to make their way towards you? Do you think that you're supposed to all be in the same spot? Are you just supposed to run around solo and hope for the best? Like, what's the deal?
We certainly should squad up. But in the footage...
All 33 teams of three with one person presumably by
and
themselves.
And one person just like, bring it on! Yeah. That certainly should be the intention, right? Is we should try and work together. And if I had found the map when we were still in the bus, you can tap the map to put waypoints down. And so that's how you could try and coordinate with people you don't know, like, let's all go here.
Okay.
And then if you get knocked, you can get each other up. In in the more time I've spent with this game outside of 10 minutes, that doesn't happen much. The getting people up has been comically rare. To the point that I have numerous times been knocked crawling around in front of another teammate who's just like, nah, I'm going to go get some loot though, and just run away from me, even if we're not under attack.
Steve, perhaps I'm a little inclined here to skip to the end, but I do just want to point out that that when you perished, you were actually in the middle of a 3-player exchange.
Yep, So when the two of us were standing out in the nowhere shooting each other, about halfway through that conflict, I realized there were bullets coming from another direction.
Yep.
And if I had not been on a touch device, I might have tried to do something about that.
Yep.
But given the commitment I had already made to, no, we both stand here and shoot each other until one of us dies, my plan became, well, if I get this target done, I'll try and figure out where this other person is. Which would have been very easy, because it seems like every bullet has a tracer on it. So like, there's a line leading from where the bullet came from. This game doesn't want you to have to try and figure out where a shot is coming from, which is very, very different to PUBG, where like where did that shot come from is a big part of why snipers are so powerful.
Yep.
That's just not possible here, because every shot seems to have a line behind it telling you where it came from.
Yep.
But yeah, so I was done at that point. It was like, well, they chose to shoot at me, not the other person. So my only option here is to get very, very lucky. These dice rolls need to come up in my favor quite a lot for this to work out. Yeah.
But from the post-death screen, the player who shot you also killed the other person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Took both of you out.
Well, I think I had knocked the other person and then they finished them. I don't remember.
Right.
I have to double check.
Okay. So, Steve, what did you learn from actually playing this beyond this is weird to play on a mobile device? Like I'm speaking specifically about the game Fortnite Battle Royale here, as opposed to, say, PUBG, which I know you played a reasonable amount of.
The tone was really strange.
Right.
The tone is a thing that still kind of throws me.
Yep.
Because the way that it presents the mechanics pushes me towards wanting to play it safe.
Right.
But then the way that interactions tend to play out beyond my 10 minutes is Fortnite favors aggression massively.
So what was leading you to think that it was telling you to play safe? I mean, the fact that you can build forts presumably is a part of that. But
I know that there's building, so I presume that building would be a thing that would be important. And presumably then not running away from your forts.
No, they're entirely disposable.
Yeah, that it gives you a range of weaponry from like close to long range. So presumably if there are long range weapons, that means you don't want to get outranged and you don't want to be out in the open unless you also have long range weaponry.
Right.
But I've found, maybe it's just because I was playing against other iOS people. I honestly don't even know how that matchmaking works. I know there is crossplay. I don't know if I was playing against other mobile people or not. People can't shoot on a mobile device. There's a lot of auto aim, but it's still only going to go so far.
Right.
And that doubled down on the fact of the way the accuracy cones work means that people are missing constantly. And so this game becomes very, very dangerous when people are close to you and kind of whatever, unless someone's really good with a sniper rifle or perhaps playing with a controller, a Bluetooth controller, or have gone even a step further and somehow playing against mobile players on a PC.
Right.
Can I go and cash all my chips in now on what I think an epiphany I've had about the Battle Royale genre, but this game specifically.
Okay.
A lot of this kind of seems to me like the experience, like the real life experience of playing paintball. And that right there was the sort of the moment where it was like, well, from long range, it doesn't really feel like anything. Close up, this feels like a frantic experience. Paintball, to play paintball physically is essentially a long amount of build up, that waiting room moment of discussing, what it is that you're going to do, who's going to get shot, whatever. Then you get out into the game, and then it becomes about 25 minutes of absolutely nothing while you're just getting progressively sweatier and kind of more uncomfortable, or experiencing sort of like negative emotions of like, I'm bored, I'm anxious, I'm anticipating something fucking happening. And then the organizers of the game decide that not enough bullets have been spent, so they enclose the area a little bit further and say, all right, everyone, pile into this spot to get you closer and closer to just getting the thing that you really want from the experience of playing paintball, which is what it's like to get shot without actually having to take a bullet. And you receive that eventually, and it's kind of cool because then you've got a story that you can tell.
And then you just dab everywhere and you're done.
Exactly. Like, but you achieve that moment, and then you have the post-game area where you do all your dabbings, and you share how intense it was, and you add all the little embellishments and flourishes that make it way crazier than it was. Like, remind me to tell you the time I got shot point blank in the stomach hanging out of a window frame in a 1v1 match at the tail end of the day of paintball. That's actually true. I had this scarf for 9 months. It was actually 6. There's a little bit of that embellishment right there. That's what this is. It's going and finding your story. It's doing a lot of waiting, of doing absolutely nothing, but being forced closer and closer and closer until it's you and another person having an intense flourish that either is the best fight ever or kind of okay and worth forgetting.
Okay, just there's only really one other thing that's springing to my mind that I want to bring up. If you're saying that this game majorly favors aggression and that being at close range is more or less the only way to effectively kill anyone or be killed by anyone.
It seemed like it to me. Yeah.
On mobile. This map is fucking enormous.
And yet tiny compared to PUBG. But yeah, it still feels giant.
Yeah.
I've had a number of times playing this game on mobile where I'm like, really? I haven't seen anyone yet? How many people are left alive? There's a readout in the top left. I'm like, really? There's still 65 people alive? Where are they?
Yeah.
Because when the game starts, you can see a lot of people jumping out of a bus.
Yeah.
So you get a sense of it there, but then once we're on the ground, I think it's because there's such... Like, this is a Looney Tunes landscape. We haven't talked about the art style. It looks a lot like Looney Tunes Orcs Must Die.
Right.
Or like Torchlight kind of color palette happening.
Yep.
But there's undulating hills all over the place.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like reality in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
So someone can be 50 meters away from you, but that's 3 hills away. So you can't see them.
Yeah.
So it feels lonely a lot of the time in a way that, in the same way that PUBG does. But because of the rest of the style and tone it's going for, it always feels kind of wacky. It always feels like I should be hitting someone with a giant inflatable mallet that says whammy.
Or like calling in your Acme Anvil airstrike.
Yeah.
So this is the 98% of Wile E. Coyote just waiting around that you never get to see.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I think the other thing I wanted to that came to mind in watching the footage back is how much this game like leans on and pushes community.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it defaulted to a squad match, even though I didn't even realize that. But eventually I will, and eventually I might start using that. Like default was you play with other people that are your allies.
Yep.
And I also think there's kind of something clever about having all this information thrown at me that's meta, that's the secondary in the meta systems of the game.
Yes.
That I don't need to understand to be able to play, but I get reinforced. It's like the player that killed me in the 10 minutes. When you see their character, they don't look like me. They have like a cool space suit on.
Yep. And a backpack and other weird stuff. Yep.
And they have a cool outfit, right?
Yep.
And it's like there's that sense of like, well, I can't figure out how I get that, so I have to go ask my friends about Fortnite and go, how do you get the cool outfit? Or I have to hit Reddit, or I watch a video, or I dig around a menu maybe. But it feels like this game is pretty clever about making me want to engage with other humans about Fortnite.
Yeah.
To learn how to play it, or like what are the strats, or like I don't understand these rifles, when are they useful? I can't tell what they're doing, and having your friend be like, oh, I heard that the blue rifle is better than the shotgun when you're up a hill next to somebody. Blah, blah,
Your
blah.
best friend at the water cooler says you need to read this Business Insider article.
Yeah, that was pretty special.
Fortnite really is everywhere.
That was a terrifying moment for me. Maybe we'll put the link to that in the show notes.
One very last thing that I wanted to quickly mention was that these games, I think Fortnite's probably the closest I've come to actually maybe dipping my toes into an experience like this. And I think the reason why I haven't in previous games like DayZ or games that were of this was that and the reason that I haven't played paintball more than twice is because I don't have the fucking patience.
Right.
I can't be bothered sitting around and waiting for that moment to arrive. My experience of playing these games is watching a YouTube compilation, and so I guess it's this weird thing where I like that it exists because I get those individual moments. I get those stories that were able to be fashioned. But I also appreciate the fact that there are a bunch of people out there laboring on that, enjoying it, but laboring on that I'm completely removed from.
Shall we do a 10-minute check?
Sure.
Do it.
Steve, does this game tell you what it's about?
Kinda. It's obvious enough, I think, to even someone who isn't familiar with Battlegrounds as a game mode to figure out what you're meant to do. There are enough things in place here that it makes sense to anyone who's played a video game before what is happening. If you've never played anything before, if you got an iPad for Christmas and you went into this app store and got the number one game and you played it and you've never played anything before, I think you would be quite confused. But I think there's enough space in here for you to have wacky, fun adventures in, this is a weird thing. I can see why people like video games and air quotes not be playing it right kind of thing, but still having some fun doing it.
Right.
Because you could just go, I'm just going to destroy this entire building and just demolish a building, not even
with a
worrying about other people doing or whatever.
Yeah.
But beyond that, like it gives me controls, it gives me an objective, it tells me in very clear terms that the circle exists and it's going to shrink. There's a lot of information on screen that makes sense immediately, like there's a hand icon to tap the thing to pick it up. There are empty slots for an inventory that fill up, and then there can't pick anything else up because they're full. But I get a sense of what I'm meant to do, and it's very easy to get in and out of that game.
Okay.
Like the flow of getting into a match, I tapped one button, and then if I didn't do anything, eventually I'd just be on the island with no weapon.
Yeah.
It doesn't require me to understand a lot to be able to be at the point where I'm now getting killed by somebody who understands the game better than me.
And you played a full match inside of 10.
I did.
10 minutes. Yep.
And I got to see a trailer for a game I was already playing.
Yeah, you did. And
Isn't that awesome?
And you, dear listeners, can also see that trailer that Steve's referring to if you go to our YouTube channel and check out the footage of Steve's playthrough. The link to that will be in the show description notes.
The only other thought I had, which is very obvious, so I'll forgive you if you edit it out, is why is this game on iOS when it's a third-person shooter, which is not a good touch device game?
Hey, Steve, why is this game on iOS when it's a third-person shooter?
I know, right? It seems super weird. Like, that's not a good control scheme for that kind of game, especially when you don't make any adjustments for that, given your limited input mechanisms.
Because it doesn't matter, because the kids will play it.
Yes, because it's free.
Yes, because it's free, and the kids can't play their PCs at school.
Moreover, a 6-year-old may not have a console that's theirs, or a PC that's theirs, or a laptop that's theirs, but in the first world, it's relatively common for a child to have a hand-me-down iPhone, iPad that they can do whatever they want with, especially when it's free.
I think it might be time for the plugs.
Welcome to the plugs. I'm Steve.
Thank
you may
you.
remember me from the rest of the show.
Yes.
If you've enjoyed this episode, we would love to hear from you. If you haven't, we're also still happy to hear from you. If you want, you could use email to contact us. The way you would do that is you would send an email to our email address. That address is contact@thefirst10minutes.com. Or social media. We're on all the things. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Libsyn. We're there.
Yep.
We have a YouTube account. It also has some Let's Plays on there. You should check those out. And in all of those places, we are the first 10 minutes. We look forward to hearing from you. So, Aaron, if they want to talk to you, they got thoughts about paintball.
You can do that by catching me on Twitter occasionally, where I am at rundownflamingo, spelled how it sounds.
Excellent. Tony, if they have thoughts about...
UI and Tooltips, that's me.
Yep.
If you want to get in touch with me personally on Twitter, you can find me at Carlinskald. That's KALINSKALD. And I'd also love it if you could check out another podcast I do called Downloadable Context, where I interview game developers about what makes them tick. You can find that at downloadablecontext.com. Hey, Steve, what about you?
I'm also on the Twitter. You can find me at _Steve Helliwell. That's it.
Concise. I like it.
It's pretty good. Remember to keep your eyes on our Twitter account. Yeah, you'll get notified when the next poll goes up, so you can vote on what we play next time.
And if you head on over to our YouTube channel, there's a bunch of Let's Plays that go up there every week. 6 of them a week, so it'd be great if you could have a look there too. But that's all that we have for you this episode, so thank you all very much for listening, and we'll catch you again next time.
Bye.
Later.
See ya.